I just love that new introduction music. What about yourself, Harps?
Oh, mate, love the little Winter Olympics theme we've got going on there. It gets me in the mood.
Mate, $30 well spent, $30 well spent. Now, our next guest, so it's our second part of our little curling series. I'm sure he needs no introduction. He's done about 3,000 interviews in the last couple of days. He's been on the project, and I promise we won't do as many curling puns as they attempted in that interview. Dean Hewitt, how are you? Great, thanks for having me.
Oh, mate, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on. We just spoke to Tali minutes ago. It was very, very good. And, this should be really good as well. And we're not going to ask you to explain the sport or anything like that. Tali's covered that all off, as we mentioned before. But I'm just going to ask you straight off the bat. I think it's 9 days since you qualified for the Olympics. How are you feeling now?
I mean, it's exciting. I don't think it's actually sunk in properly yet. But for all the messages that we've had from home and the different interviews, it feels pretty cool, and really looking forward to the month and a half ahead.
Right, and you have a little bit of, Olympic blood in your family. So your dad actually went to the 92 Olympics for curling as well, when it was a demonstration sport. Could you explain what a demonstration sport is?
So at the time, they were kind of just like trialing out the sport at the Olympics, trying to see the engagement and everything like that, and see if they could bring it into a full-blown medal sport afterwards. So he had to go through the whole qualification process like every other year. And they managed to qualify that year and play in Olympics. So it was pretty special, and pretty special that we get to do it as well, I suppose, for myself.
The project, if you're listening, I think that's how you ask a question about a demonstration sport, not trying to throw Dean's dad under the bus there. So back then, obviously curling being a demonstration sport, it was a full Winter Olympic sport in 1924, but then not again until 1998. But nowadays, it seems like it's fairly big for a winter sport, as big as you can be for a winter sport. I'm not sure what it was like then, but why didn't it become a full sport until 98? Do you know?
I don't know why it took so long. But I suppose just the popularity grew and grew. And, with the Olympics, they always have a quota in terms of the amount of athletes they can have in on it. So I suppose they allowed it to expand even further, and I suppose curling was a sport they could bring in for it.
Yeah, cool. And we had a look at this article, had a read of this article, which I really, really recommend, that you wrote on Athlete's Voice. And you spoke about the spirit of curling, which I think is a very interesting concept. It's very, lots of sportsmanship going on in curling, apparently. So can you talk to me a bit about that?
Yeah, exactly. So with curling, it's kind of a gentleman's sport, I suppose. So the idea is all around that you would rather lose than win unfairly. And so it's all about sportsmanship, making sure you're doing the right thing out there. So, for example, when you're curling and you might touch the rock with your broom as you're sweeping, you can own up to that, and that's what you should do, and you always do. And if a team doesn't do that, that's very unsportsmanlike and completely against the spirit of curling. So the spirit of curling is actually written into the rules of curling. And if a rule becomes a bit like in a grey area, it'll just straight away go ahead and come down to spirit of curling, where the judgment call will be made.
So what's an example where that's like come out and we've seen that in your game?
Oh, I actually had a game and I think one of the teams, it's called Burnt the Stone, when they touched the rock as it was coming into the field of play. And they said, look, I touched that. And I said, that's fine. You can leave it where it is. Because the rule with that is you can either choose to move it to where you think it would have gone. You can get rid of the rock, or you can just leave it where it is. And so the spirit of curling is saying, look, I think it would have ended up there anyway. We're just going to leave it. Against spirit of curling, you might actually just remove that rock completely, even though they really didn't do anything to the rock at all. They just grazed it at the end.
Is it controversial though? If somebody barely touches it, you're like, nah, that's not, that rock, move it off.
Yeah, it's not such the best look amongst curling fans. And there was a team which did it the last Olympics and pulled a rock, and they got crucified over it. So yeah, it is within the rules to remove that rock, but may not be within the spirit of curling, I'd say.
I'll tell you what, I don't think I'd last at curling if my backyard cricket exploits have anything to go by. I never walk. You have to bowl me to get me out, so I don't know how I'd go with the spirit, to be honest.
Dean, do you know if there are any other sports with this kind of gentleman's code thing going on?
I don't actually know. No, I don't know. Because a good example you brought up about like, if you do nick a ball and you don't walk or something like that, because that was always a tough one. I used to be a cricket player too, and I always juggled up with that as well. And it's a tough one. It is a grey area, but I think in curling it kind of goes a step further where it says, look, if you do nick a ball, you should really walk.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, my theory in cricket is you don't walk. I mean, you get that many bad decisions by an umpire. If they make one in your favour, you make the most of it.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Just quickly again, you mentioned curling fans there. I'm interested to know in Canada, where curling's massive and where you are at the moment, how many people do you get rocking up to your games?
Well, this season we actually haven't really played any big events here. But like, for example, they've had some trials over here just before, and they had a Grand Slam which we attended, and they can fill the crowd with, from a few hundred to a few thousand people for the big games. So they can fill up stadiums quite full, and it's great to see when you get a crowd and you can barely hear yourself think out there. It's fantastic.
Mate, that's unreal, and I'm sure that you'll pull out hopefully a massive crowd at the upcoming Olympics. But now we want to go back. We want to go back to the start of the journey. What made you get into the sport of curling? I'm super interested. We spoke to Tali. She said the community is about 200 people. So how did you find yourself in one of the 200 people that was just absolutely mad about the sport?
Yeah, so I suppose my mum's Canadian. So naturally she was a big curler, and she met my dad, who's Australian, and taught him. And they curled for years and years on the national team. And then they taught me how to curl and just fell in love with it. I was curling from, I don't know what age. I say that I was about 5 or 6 years old, but I have no idea. It could have been before that. And, I was even on the tiles at home practicing my delivery before I could get on ice. And just love it.
And now you're kind of one of the best curlers in the world, I think it's fair to say, because you're going to the Olympics in a couple of months. So, but you still... It's not your full-time job. You've got to juggle all this other stuff, studying in the past, and you worked at IGA, exercise physiologist, did a bit of work at Geelong. So tell us how you balance kind of the need to make money and your love for curling and your want to be an elite athlete.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm getting older now. I'm 5 years older than Tali, so I've kind of got to look forward to the future a little bit more too, and try and make a living out of it. So yeah, you don't get a whole lot of money with curling to support yourself throughout your life. So instead, I'm an exercise physiologist by trade, and spend as much time as I can working, especially in corporate health. And then, on the side, I do a couple other jobs around at the Ice House, actually teaching curling and an IGA. And I've pretty much got 3 jobs on the go at once, and then have to fit in training around it. So it's a busy schedule at home.
If you don't mind me asking, if you won the Australian Championships, which are, funnily enough, held in New Zealand, do you get prize money for that? And if you do you know roughly how much?
No prize money for nationals.
Oh,
and there's no prize money for World Championships either, or even the event we just played in. So all the official ones to get you towards the Olympics, there's no prize money. So it's a tough slog. You really got to work hard for it, because it's funny, for a lot of years there, it was like, congratulations, you're national champion. Now you can fork out $6,000 to $10,000 this year to, pay for your trips overseas. So,
do you have sponsors?
So we have Balance Plus, which is the curling equipment company, but for them it's just mainly equipment. So it's not financial, but we do get some funding from like the Olympic Winter Institute of Australia, the AOC, and the Victorian Institute of Sport. So more so like government-based funding, but no sponsors.
Yeah, I'm interested because obviously there's 200 people in curling, but that's spread out across Australia. So I'd imagine there's quite a lot of travel involved, mate. I don't know if it's based in Melbourne or where it's based, but I can imagine you have to fly to New Zealand for the championships, overseas for the World Championships. So you have to fund that pretty much all yourself. So like you're working these 3 jobs to help fund your career, essentially.
Yeah, so for most of the years there, we were traveling, for five times overseas a year, and that was completely out of our own pocket. So we got really lucky in 2019. We came fourth at World Championships, and then we started to get some more funding from the government avenues, which have really helped to subsidize these trips, especially this one now. Like we couldn't have been overseas for 5 months, on our own dollar and not making anything,
Definitely. It's a massive, massive sacrifice. And do you think that it'll ever come to that you could be curling full time, and that like you'll receive enough funding, enough sponsoring in Australia where you don't have to worry about having to pay for your own sort of trips, particularly given that you're at the elite level?
I really hope so. I mean, if you can get the sponsors, and the prize money is slowly going up and up as we go. So yeah, hopefully get some sponsors. That'd be ideal. Hopefully with the Olympics coming up, that might be an avenue to promote us a little bit more. And but yeah, I'd still like to work on the side. Keep that exercise physiology job current, and because I love that stuff too. But yeah, I'd love it to not be such a burden, I suppose, to have to work to just play.
Yeah, and one final one from me on this topic I'm interested is how does this compare to other countries? Like in Canada, are they full-time professional curlers? They only have to focus on that?
Yeah, it ranges. The funny thing with Canada is often they do have a second job. They do have a lot of sponsorship, but it's the countries, like the Asian countries, where it is their profession, as well as some of the European countries too. They are the national team, and they get completely funded by the national federation or their Olympic committee. So it is tough playing against those teams that curl professionally, and that's all they do. But yeah, I still want to keep the passion there. I don't want it to be my job as such. I still want to keep the passion and the enjoyment out of it, though.
Now, this one got put to Tali as well, but you've got no idea what she said, so I'm interested to ask it to you. There are obviously so many inverted commas, obscure sports, smaller sports, fighting for government funding so they can have better athletes and get gold medals and all that kind of thing, and have like actual rinks, proper rinks in curling's case. Yeah. So why do you think curling deserves to be the sport to get government funding?
Curling's a really interesting one. I think it's one of those sports where you can play the whole year because it's going to be indoors on ice, and you've got so much variety in who can play. Like, for example, I played two world championships with my mother, who was like 58 at the time. And there's not many sports you can play at that level like that, as well as, at a club level. So at a club, men, women can play together equally, as well as we can actually play with people with a disability. So we have wheelchair curling. We have people with visual issues, or just any kind of disability out there as well. It's fantastic to see how we can actually play together and how inclusive it is. I mean, it's fantastic, and you can play from age 6 to 86. Like there's so much variety amongst curlers.
Yeah, outstanding. I think Tali even mentioned that Dean, might have played with an 87-year-old the other day in Canada in the local competition. So it truly is one of the most inclusive sports. And I guess back on other countries, I'm interested because we did an Olympic series earlier in 2021, and some of the athletes actually came from other countries. And I'm interested. Have you ever considered going to one of those countries where curling could be a full-time profession because of the greater funding and greater opportunity for you?
I really don't think I could. I'm an Aussie through and through. Love it here. Love it playing for Australia. And if I have to work twice as hard to finance myself to go and play, I'll do it. I would struggle playing for another country, I think.
Right. And speaking of that, like 87-year-old and your mum and these older players, how old are you when you're in your prime, and like maybe what's the oldest person who could qualify for the Olympics? Because there wouldn't be many 9-year-olds playing at Olympic level, I'm guessing.
No. So I suppose your prime is probably your early 30s, or probably all through your 30s even. Like the game, is so physical itself, but also just like the repetition, throwing like thousands of rockets in your life, you really get the feel for everything. You kind of have the intuition and the strategy. You've seen basically everything out there in your life, and it gives you so much, I guess, mental strength and mental toughness for those kind of situations too. Like when you're young, you don't get those opportunities to play in those big events as much. When you play them multiple times over and over, like it's huge once you get to that older age. You just have that experience, which is so key.
Yeah, and I guess that experience probably helped when you competed, like you alluded to earlier, competing with your mum. I mean, what was that like? I can't imagine too many, I guess, professional, like elite level athletes have competed at a world championship stage or national championship stage with their mum. I mean, that's such a cool experience.
Oh, it's phenomenal. Like, I couldn't trade that for the world. Like, it was so much fun. It was an amazing experience, and the backing that we had from other people. And yeah, there's not many sports, as you said, that you can do that in. So very fortunate, and yeah, loved it.
What's your mum's name?
Lynn.
Lynn. Well, big hello to Lynn if she's listening. But were you living with your mum at all, like when you played together on the circuit?
Yep. I still am, actually, because I'm only home for about 4 months of the year. When I am at home, I'm living with the parents still.
So what's that dynamic like of competing together, and then maybe like, Dean, you've had a shocker one day, you've absolutely lost the game for your team, but then you've got to go home with mum and eat at the dinner table together.
Yeah, it's always a tough one, but we always kind of made a point of, if something goes bad, we can just park it and leave it at the front door and leave that behind us. Obviously, we chat about so much curling in the house, with us and Dad. It's huge. It's huge in our house.
It's awesome. And it's awesome that you have such a strong connection with your mother with the competing. But obviously, you now compete with Tali. So how did that come about? What made you think that Tali was the person that you wanted to partner up with and try and, I guess, eventually go to the Olympics with?
Yeah, so I suppose the first year I played with Mum, we missed out on the playoffs by a matter of about this much. So we're really close. And
just for the listeners.
Yeah, it was tiny. And essentially, we were playing pretty well, but Mum and I were both chatting. We said, look, for the next Olympic cycle, we got to be looking forward to, what we can do, and we need to develop a bit more. And we both agreed that we probably need to find a younger player to play with me. So that following year, we played at Nationals, me and Mum, and we're still going to play another World Championships, but we saw Tali out there and she was playing amazing against us. And so, yeah, we decided that I'd give her a call, and sure enough, Tali agreed that we'd make a run for this Olympics. And we said, look, even if we don't make this Olympics, we're going to push for the following one. So, yeah, it was super exciting. And Mum and I still played at the following World Championships, even though I was going to play with Tali. We were committed to that, but.
Mate, so did you have to sack your mum? Is that what I'm hearing? You had to say, sorry, Mum, you're out the door.
No, it was definitely a mutual agreement.
So when you teamed up with Tali, you see her play well against you and all that kind of thing, but do you have to analyse her character as well? Because you're travelling the world together, you're spending months and months and months together, so you have to have a pretty good relationship to be a good team. So are you not just analysing her skills, but kind of analysing her character and personality?
Yeah, I suppose we'd kind of known each other for a few years there. We'd played on the junior men's and women's teams at the same time, so we knew about each other, kind of interacted a little bit, but not a whole lot. And so, I knew she was, a decent person, and I knew her family was a pretty good family. So we had a training camp before we started playing together, and it seemed to click. And yeah, it was a bit of a gamble because we didn't really know each other that well. But at that time, we just said, well, we're the two players which we think we can make it to the Olympics. Let's go for it.
So from all the kind of hints I'm picking up, it feels like you two have probably got a pretty good relationship from what I'm hearing. Like, you qualify for the Olympics, so you've good team chemistry, I'm guessing. So why have you got good team chemistry? What makes Tali a good teammate, and why does she complement you so well? Yeah,
I think we work hard on our team dynamics. We, at the start of when we played together, we said, what do we like and don't like? What do we like to hear? What don't we like to hear? And make sure we kind of abide by those things. And yeah, she's just a fun-loving kind of girl, and she just, loves to have a good chat and a good laugh, and doesn't take things too seriously. And I think that's a really important thing, because I can get a bit serious on the ice, but she can be a bit more relaxed. So it kind of works well for us.
Yeah, we were fortunate enough to meet Tali before. Yeah, she's definitely a lot of fun. And she has a question for you, Dean. We asked Tali, what's one question we should ask Dean? Anything in particular? And I don't know why, but she wants to know, what do what do you find the most annoying thing about Tali? That's what she wants to know. What annoys you about her?
I tell her this on like a daily basis. No, no, like she's just great. Like I don't know if I can really find anything about it. Every so often she'll forget something, and that can kind of get on the nerves when I've already told her something. But no, like she's just great.
Yeah, and
She's not forgetting anything important, like she's not forgetting to bring the brooms to a game or anything like that.
No, it's never anything important. That's the key. So anytime we get to game time, it's all good. So that's the most important thing.
No, that's a great answer, Dean. Although I did see in the chat box that you said if you wanted me to answer this question in full, the podcast interview would go for 3 hours. So he didn't actually say that. He didn't actually say that. I'm putting words in his mouth. Sorry, Dean. Dean did not do anything like that. Anyway, so you brought up the brooms, and I'm interested. So is there particular like brands of like brooms? Like what are the different types? I saw in that Athlete's Voice article that you mentioned, like they used to be like a couple kilos a few years ago. Now they're like 200 grams. I mean, tell us a little bit about the brooms that you use and how they've evolved.
Yeah, so they used to be wooden with like corn on the end of it. So they used to be ridiculously sweet, heavy. I don't know how they did it back then because they were half whacked on whiskey too. Maybe that's how they did get through it. Maybe, they just didn't feel the pain or the fatigue. But these days, you can't put the flask inside the broom. They literally had flask inside the broom. It was just fantastic. Way. But these days, I kid you not, but these days the brooms are completely hollow, so they would have got really excited. I mean, you could put like liters of whiskey in it now, but I haven't seen anyone at a professional level scull a broom yet. Yeah, these brooms now are completely carbon fiber, so they're super light. Still very strong. Every so often one breaks, but they're very strong. And they've all got kind of a standardized head on the bottom now. And it's kind of this yellow fabric, which you have to use because they kind of want to level the playing field a little bit so that your advantage is purely strength and power rather than a special broom head, I suppose.
In what situation would have to occur for a broom to break?
You can break it just sweeping because you're putting so much downward force through it that you can just snap the thing in half. And one of my men's teammates literally broke one. I think it was just 3 weeks ago. It wasn't a Balance Plus broom, I'll tell you that much though. It was a different broom, which he was trialing, and he's never going to go for that broom again.
So obviously you're the main guy who uses the brooms in the team. So what training methods are you kind of using, not just with the broom, but gym workouts, anything like that? What do you do to improve your game?
Yeah, I've got to spend a lot of time in the gym because that upper body strength and power is just key to put as much weight over the broom as you can while moving the broom as quickly as possible. So I'll spend hours in the kitchen floor at home and sweeping the tiles off and on, doing intervals for 20 to 25 seconds at once, and then taking a minute off and then going again and, repeating that over and over and over. And if you can just imagine, doing a 20-second sprint outside and then, having a little bit of recovery and doing it again and doing it multiple times over and over, like it is rough. It's tough.
Do you get many injuries?
You can, yeah. With sweeping, it's more so in the upper body for sure. And then for, when you're actually throwing the rock too, it's your knees because you get in such a low lunge that your knees in such a compromised position so often that like meniscus often go, and knees are a common one for curling as well.
Yeah, I was going to say the sport's really transitioned then from like how you mentioned earlier, people were smoking cigars, drinking whiskey. Now you've got all these interval sessions, spending 5 hours a day in the gym. The sport's definitely grown, hasn't it, over the years?
Yeah, it has changed a lot. Like a lot of other sports, I think curling was a little bit slower to go to the high performance side of things. But there's still curling rinks out here where you can drink on the ice, and there's even a phone at the end of the sheet where you can call the bar and they'll bring you your drinks for you. Like it is phenomenal. But no, we don't do any of that anymore. But yeah, it is a lot of fun.
I'll tell you what, next restaurants that don't have that kind of service.
I know.
I was going to say next work Christmas party, booking curling and drinks. Yeah. Sounds like that. Sounds like the way to go.
That's right.
Yeah, like we could get that curling rink in Australia if we just tell them you can serve alcohol there. Just like use it as a bar,
Yeah.
and the curling rink will be here in no time at all. But let's talk about the World Championships for a bit, because I think talking about the 2019 World Championships, I think it was, you finished fourth, and this is it's exciting when I say that you finished fourth, because that hopefully good signs coming into the Olympics. Tell me about those World Championships with Tali. Obviously, why were you? Why did you perform so well there?
Who knows? No. Essentially, that was our third event together. So we hadn't played a whole lot. We'd basically only curled for 3 weeks together before that World Championship. So, I suppose it was kind of fresh in the team, and it was kind of lucky that I'd played a couple World Championships before that with Mum, and had that kind of experience there anyway. And, Mum and I were, again, this much away from making playoffs. So just to make that next step over, and we only just scraped through again. Then we kind of, ran the table a little bit when we got to finals, and it was really good. But I think just that experience from the previous couple of years and having Tali there that was just making a couple really clutch shots to win some games there was phenomenal.
Yeah, and unreal. And I think you came fourth, didn't you? I mean, what sort of confidence does that give you heading into the Olympics that you've recently come fourth in the World Championship?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. Confidence is so key for us. And, the past 3 months as well has been really good. Won 3 events in a row. And hopefully we can, build on that again going into the Olympics as well.
Your coach is John Morris. That's correct, yeah?
Yeah, someone named that guy. Who knows?
So Lockie was telling me, legend of the sport, I think 2 Winter Olympic gold medals,
including in the mixed doubles, I believe, one of them in 2018.
Yes.
Yeah. Unbelievable career. Many people would envy the amount of success he's had in the sport. So tell me about him as a coach, though. What kind of coach is he? Is he kind of bit of a soft touch? Is he a bit more like a caring guy, or does he go really hard at you? Tell me about him.
He's the whole package. He's a real interesting guy. Like, he's such a good fella. So essentially, we met up with him, a couple of years ago, and have been with him for a little while. And he said at the start, he's like, "Look, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm just going to tell you the truth." And that's what I loved. And that's what I wanted to coach. Just tell me straight out, what am I doing wrong? What do I need to fix? Because that's how you get better. I'm happy to say that, I'm doing something wrong. Let me know, because that's how you get better. And but he is that kind of guy that, if you're in a rough spot, that he will pump you up. If you're in a tough position, he kind of has that inkling about how you're feeling, and just has that natural ability to get you in the right headspace as well, I suppose. He's just got such a wealth of experience that he can just, be that different coach, put on those different hats when you need him to.
I know most people listening to this don't know too much about curling, but now you've probably listened to the Tali episode, and you might know a bit about it, so you can get as technical as you'd like here. What kind of things has he told you when you are in a rough spot? Maybe little tactics or even mentality things to help you lift your game?
Just simple things like, Dean, you just got to get out to the broom. Like, I was just sliding a bit narrower of where the target was, and he's like, "Look, you just need to shift your hips and just get out there." Just simple, clear cut, because, we've trained like that before. We know how to fix those things, but just simple cues to say, "Look, you need to be doing this to make that shot." And then he always finishes on, "Come on, you got it." It's always a positive statement, and the belief, and a few swear words in there too, which is always fun. And he dropped one in the finals there, which the media wasn't too happy with, but we loved it. And he's really good value.
Mate, unreal. And I reckon we're just about time to move on to the Olympics, to the main event. But before we do so, the Olympic qualifiers. Now, the sponsor, I believe the main sponsor of that event might have been a sex toy company. I mean, how often does that happen in high-level sport?
I have never seen it in my life. It was it was fascinating. It was branded everywhere. So, I mean, I think it was great for the company, because I think they got a lot of promotion from it. But yeah, it was a bit eye-opening, I suppose, to see that was one of the sponsors, I suppose.
Phenomenal. That is, you were telling that to us off air. We had no idea before, so thank you for telling us that. That's a really good little where do we begin scoop there. So cheers. But about the Olympics though, Tali said what. Like she talked to us about goals, and you're having a little break now, I know. But have you thought about goals yourself, or spoken with Tali for the Olympics coming up?
Yeah, our goal going into this season was all about making the Olympics, and that was our pure focus because we didn't want to get ahead of ourselves and that. But our coach, when we first chatted to him, he's like, "Look, I don't want you guys to just make the Olympics. I want you guys to podium." So that's his goal for us. I don't know if we're going to achieve that or not. We really hope we do. That is a goal for sure. I mean, coming home with a medal would be amazing. But, first Olympics, we'll see how we go, and we'll be happy with whatever we can do out there and just build on that, and hopefully for the next Olympics as well.
Again, in this Athlete's Voice article, I just want to talk about this now because Australia's position, the position Australia's in compared to the best teams in the world, the facilities are just absolutely nowhere near it. And the ice, talk to me about the ice in Australia, because you refer to it like playing lawn bowls on sand, lawn bowls at the beach or something in that article. It's phenomenal that you've got there, and you could podium.
Yeah, exactly. It's always tough in Australia. We need a dedicated curling rink. So if there's any people out there watching that has a bit of money and wants to get some coverage, I mean, I'm happy to chat to you. But yeah, we need our ice to be completely flat. And like when we're talking flat, like if it's a centimeter off from both ends of the rink, we'll know it and we can feel it. So we need it completely flat, and we need it to be dedicated ice. So skating ice just doesn't cut it for us. So we need to go overseas so often to actually get that dedicated curling ice. And, the possibilities to then actually host international events at that venue, and especially because New Zealand has a few dedicated rinks, like how New Zealand has 3 rinks and we don't have one, I have no idea. But hopefully, we can bring some curlers down from the Northern Hemisphere to come play in a few events across, the Trans-Tasman. That'd be like epic. So we really, really need some dedicated ice to, improve a little bit more, and then we don't have to travel as much too. We can spend a little more time at home.
Mate, fingers crossed, eventually Australia can get that. And it's funny, watching the Summer Olympics, something that I picked up on, and I'm really interested in you, an athlete that's going to these Olympics. So if you had a choice, would you rather lose a gold medal match and win a silver, or win a super, super close bronze medal match? Because I just always found the reaction when the bronze medalists won a close match was just euphoric, because there's such a difference between a bronze and no medal compared to bronze and silver, I reckon.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I always know that, like, it's always a tough position to be in when you lose a game and get silver. Yeah. But at the end of the day, silver is a high ranking. So for me, any kind of medal is great. And if I did get a choice between silver and bronze, I would rather lose the final and get silver than, win the bronze, I think.
Less stressful, because at least you're getting a medal.
I think so. That it's probably the most fun game you can be in is that gold medal game, because at the end of the day, you're getting a medal, like you're guaranteed. So.
Yeah, and I think Lockie and I were talking about this during our Olympics coverage in 2021, how short term, probably you feel better getting the bronze medal because you've won the game, but long term, when you're looking back on it in 50 years or whatever, probably feel better getting the silver medal even though you lost the gold medal match. But the question that we ask at the end of every podcast to all our guests, we've spoken a bit about your life, gone through all your challenges and that kind of thing. So I'll ask you, do you have a life philosophy, Dean? Any little quote or words that you live your life by and help guide your decisions maybe?
I think for me, it's kind of just like make it happen. That was a kind of thing in primary school, that, if you put your mind to something, really go hard for it and make it work and make it happen, because, life is short. And if you can, put yourself in the position to do something, and even if you fail, so be it, at least you've made the choice to go for it, because it's kind of like that quote around, like, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So same kind of philosophy.
Bit of Michael Jordan, but no, that's an unreal life philosophy. I love that. And now it's time to go to my favourite part of the show, the Where Do We Begin quiz. Harps, hit that music, please.
I'm very, very excited for this, Dean. You probably don't know, but Tarly, we had a lot of fun with Tarly, the Where Do We Begin quiz just before. So it's time to hit that famous Where Do We Begin quiz music. Oh, every time gives me the shivers down the spine. It just gets you so excited, that quiz music. Lockie, you'll know that we mixed it up, and the listeners will know that we mixed it up with Tarly last time in the Where Do We Begin quiz. I've got 5 questions for you, Dean, and you, Lockie, for both of you, going against each other.
Okay.
And so for all of these questions, they got a kind of Winter Olympic theme with all our Winter Olympic guests. And for this specific theme, for this specific quiz, I'm going to read out the lyrics to some songs that have some relation to cold weather, winter, that kind of thing. We're recording this a week before Christmas, so maybe some Christmas in there, that kind of thing. So I'm going to read out the lyrics. You can buzz in at any time with your name, so Dean or Lockie, and then, see if you get it right, you get the point. If you get it wrong, you're gone. And you can't buzz in again. So I've got a 5-minute, I'll share my screen actually. I've got a 5-minute timer here. I'm going to read out the songs I can read in 5 minutes. Whoever's got the most points after the 5 minutes takes out the Where Do We Begin quiz. So, Dean, Lockie, are you ready to go with our first question, our first song?
Hit me.
Okay, our time starts now. Elsa, do you want to build a snowman? Come on, let's go and play. I never see you anymore. Come
Lockie,
out the door.
Lockie, let it go.
Let it go is incorrect.
Let it snow, sorry. Let it snow.
You can't buzz in twice, but that's incorrect anyway.
Oh, far out.
I'll do the little incorrect thing again. There we go. I never see you anymore. Come out the door. It's like you've gone away. We used to be best buddies, and now we're not. I wish you would tell me why. Do you want to build a snowman? It doesn't have to be a snowman.
Oh, no.
Dean, have you got any idea there?
What am I supposed to be answering again?
What's the name of the song? You got to guess what
the name of the song. I thought it was like winter sport thing, so I kind of got lost.
Yeah, sorry, I probably didn't explain that too well. The name of the song, yeah.
Do you want to build a snowman?
Oh, yes, exactly right. If I told you that earlier, you probably would have got it straight away.
Yeah,
So,
sorry.
Sorry about that.
I thought there was like a link to a sport there, and I was getting lost.
Next one. Dean's 1-0 up with about 4 minutes to go. This one's got a kind of call and response thing. I really can't stay, but, baby, it's cold outside. I've got to go away, but, baby, it's cold outside. This evening has been hoping that you'd drop in. So very nice. I'll hold
Lockie?
your hands.
Lockie? Is it Santa Baby?
Santa Baby is incorrect.
Oh.
My mother will start to worry. Beautiful, what's your hurry? My father will be pacing the floor. Listen to the fireplace roar. So, really, I'd better scurry. Beautiful, please don't hurry. But maybe just half a drink more. Put some records on while I pour. The neighbours might think, baby, it's bad out there. Say, what's in this drink? No cabs to be had out there. I wish I knew how. Your eyes are like starlight now. Dean, have you got any idea? I might just move on to the next one.
I got nothing. I'm out.
Okay. You probably hear this song around this time. It's a Christmas song. It's Baby, It's Cold Outside. I'll move on to the next one. We've got 2.5 minutes. Next one. You change your mind like a girl changes clothes. Yeah, you PMS like a bitch. Dean.
Oh. Firework.
Lockie. Nah,
Firework is incorrect.
It's hot and cold.
Drum roll, that's not
hot and cold.
There we go.
Hot and cold. Hot and cold.
Correct.
Katy Perry.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hot
yeah.
and cold.
Wrong Katy Perry song.
Wrong. How could you do that to Katy?
I know.
Anyway, next one. Is it 1-1? I think it is 1-1.
I believe it is.
Next one. Come to decide that the things that I tried were in my life just to get high on. When I sit alone, come get a little known. But I need more than myself this time. Step from the road to the sea to the sky. And I do believe that we rely on, when I lay it on, come get to play it on. All my life to sacrifice. Hey, oh, listen what I say. Oh, I got your, hey, oh. Now listen what I say. Oh. O. Have you got any idea? Either of you two.
Lockie, O.
O is incorrect.
I've got no idea, mate.
Dean?
Oh, I've
70
heard
seconds.
those lyrics. I've heard those lyrics.
I'll tell the answer. It's Snow, Hey O by the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh,
it's one,
yeah.
it's
I didn't
one
know that's
all.
what it was called, actually.
Yeah.
Anyway.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's 1-1. This could be the deciding one. We've got about a minute left. Oh,
Okay.
the weather outside is frightful, but the fire is so delightful. And since we've no place to go, let it snow, let it snow,
Dean?
let it snow. Dean.
Let us know.
Yeah, it's let it snow, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. So I'll give that to you. 2-1 up. Lockie, we've got 35 seconds.
Is that another Frozen song?
No, it's just a Christmas song. Next one. Let me get a good one actually. Okay. Yo, VIP. Let's kick it. Ice,
Dean.
baby. Dean.
Ice Ice Baby.
Ice baby's absolutely correct.
Do I get it? Do I get a point for saying Vanilla Ice?
No, you don't. You've got 10 seconds to get 2 right to draw it back, Lockie.
Okay.
Sleigh bells ring. Are you listening? Do. In the lane, snow is glistening. A beautiful sight. We're happy
Lockie.
tonight. Lockie,
Christmas
that's
is
the time.
Christmas is the most wonderful time of year.
I've never heard that in my life. It's incorrect.
Dean, walking in a winter wonderland.
Yeah, that was the next line. Walking in a winter wonderland. Absolutely correct.
Am I the only one that doesn't know Christmas carols? I've actually got no idea. I've never
Have
listened
you never
to
been
them.
to the supermarket in December, mate? Jesus.
See,
But anyway,
Richie's IGA.
exactly.
I miss all the other ones, but I get the Christmas ones.
Dean's taken out the quiz 4-1. 4-1. That is just a remarkable win, and we've got to play the music. Very nicely done. Dean, have you got anyone you'd like to thank for that after the pinnacle of your life? I think it's fair to say.
I think it was Fred Harrison from Richie's IGA for that one.
Good shout out to old Freddie.
Yeah, big shout out to Fred if he's listening. But that just about wraps us up, Dean, actually. So well done on the quiz. That Lockie's 2 defeats in a row to start the new year
Oh
against
no,
Tarly
you
and
lost
Dean.
the tally.
Got to get back
It was
on
on
the
Winter
horse.
Sports, mate. I haven't seen it. I had no idea.
I told you to revise them last night, so no excuses. But Dean, well done on the win. Thank you very, very much for coming on again. And I will say we've done a pocket profile with Dean as well. And you can find all our pocket profiles. They're really good for $3 for all of them. And some more stuff on our Patreon, patreon.com/where do we begin. So check that out. I think you'll enjoy it very much. Lockie, anything else you'd like to say?
Nothing else to add. I'd just like to thank Dean for coming on. It was an absolute pleasure and can't wait to hopefully watch you medal at the Olympics.
Thanks, guys. Thanks so much. That was a lot of fun.
It's a pleasure, Dean. Thank you. And thanks for listening, guys. We'll be back very soon with another Winter Olympics episode.